Hey everyone, I'm Aja and I'm back with intimate moments with me. Intimate moments with Aja. So, I was just here discussing a few things that my group brought to me. So hopefully you watch the first episode. If not, you can watch it whenever you have some free time. Um, but we discussed a few things. Things surrounding self love and confidence, and I guess growth, really. Because, I talked a lot about letting go, and I feel like that's one of the major components to growing. And so I did have another question. I apologize. Let me try to put this on Do Not Disturb. I did have another question that was asked of me. Um, just later that day, so I didn't get a chance to add it. Goodness, why can't I find the Do Not Disturb? There it is. Um, Another question that was asked later that day, so I didn't get a chance to fit it into the previous recording, and that's fine because the previous recording was heavier than I anticipated and kind of wanted. I wanted these things to be brief enough that you can listen or watch and then move on with your day. Nothing too heavy. I didn't want it to be like that. And it ended up being heavier than I had intended. So I apologize for that. But I did get a lot of feedback, both in the comment section and also some one on one contact, people, sending me messages and texts and stuff. So I know that it was helpful for some of you. And there are a lot of you um, that lurk or watch without interacting, and that's something that I've had to get used to in my career. So it just is what it is. It just kind of comes with the territory that people observe you without letting you know that they observe. But I do encourage you to feel free to reach out to me if there's a question that you have a comment about that, we're discussing. I'm all positive energy. So, I can't tell you what to do with your life. If you want to be negative, I can't force you to be any other way, but just know that I won't engage with it. Um, but if you have something positive or you have a question to share, I'm open to listening. And anyone that knows me knows that I am, and I am not afraid or shy, too shy to respond to what's going on with you, and however I may help. So let's get to the one question that is more like a discussion. So that's why I was okay with this being on its own. That was brought to me, and it was brought by someone inside of the group that I manage, of readers, fans, just people connected and loving Aja, but really it's like a family. So here it is. Can I discuss how to stay out of my own head, or how we should be staying out of our own head, overthinking relationships and the what ifs that come from previous relationships? And also, wanting to play it safe and protecting yourself from hurt to the extreme. And this is a good one. And the reason why I think it is because I think that we self sabotage a lot of things, um, based on what has happened to us before. It is hard to impossible to forget anything that has occurred that has at least damaged us, that has tarnished us, that has inflicted any type of harm. it's hard to forget that. And the reason why I say it's hard to impossible, but to nearly impossible is because I guess there are some conditions that would the mind will protect itself from certain traumas so we don't remember them, or we don't remember them as clearly. We don't remember them as it happened, so someone else may say that's not exactly what took place. We kind of have this revisionist thing. And I do want to kind of talk about that. So let me start there. I think that one of the things that we have to realize is that we don't exist in a bubble. So when we're interacting with people, sometimes those interactions um, have a different impact on them. They don't see it the way that we do. That's number one. And this happens a lot in relationships or ex relationships where they are maybe into an argument or disagreement, or one or both of them are talking to different people and give different versions of the story. And it's like, okay, who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Well, they both were there, okay, but they both had different experiences with each other. And that has an impact on how they share the occurrences. And surely some of it could be a lie, especially if you're the person who's done or inflicted the most harm. Um, you may be more inclined to share a more positive view of yourself and a more negative view of the other person. But it is entirely possible for two people, even in all their honesty, to still not tell the same story because, as they say, it's two sides of a story. And I like to think that there's three, because it's like we each have our own point of view. And then there's the point of view in the middle, or like, let's just say there was a narrator. You know how, like in books and in movies, there's narrators, and the narrator has this like upper view, kind of like a God figure that is able to observe what's going on between these two people. That observation may render more of the truth, you see, because it's less biased. Everyone has a role that they play in a relationship, and it's not always victim. Even the victim has some things that they've done that aren't very victim like. Okay. So I just wanted to address that, because I think that we tend to always see ourselves as the one who's damaged and hurt, and not that we've inflicted any damage and hurt. And sometimes we have, many times we have, especially since we are being hurt. We kind of do things to the other person to get back, or we do things that we feel are protective to us, but are harmful to the other person. And maybe that is a cycle. There are times that we are contributing to the demise of a relationship, but we feel that we are not. This is why communication is so important. It is so important because how else will you know that something is going on? You aren't the other person. You are only you. You can be so in touch and so in tune that it's almost like they never have to speak and never have to do anything, and you still know what they're thinking and they're feeling. We write about it in, well, authors who write romance, especially, and any type of paranormal or whatever, where there's this supernatural connection and things without the other person saying, but it's still like communication is necessary. It's important. It's vital. You got to be able to speak up, and you have got to be able to communicate in a way that the other person can understand, and to ensure that they do understand you. And that comes from both sides, not just one side. That's both sides. That's every side, I should say. Not all relationships are with two people. Some of them exist with multiple people. And it's not for anybody to judge, because if that's what works for them. That's what works. But my purpose is that all parties must be communicating and keeping communication open, even when it feels like it's natural and doesn't require a lot of work. It does, in the sense that we need to ensure that the person that we are loving is understanding where we are at any given time, especially as we shift. Because I've said this before in another, like on another platform at another time, we are constantly evolving and changing. All that stuff that we talked about in the very first episode about letting go and moving forward and growing confidence and stuff, all of that changes you. When you're actively doing things to move forward, you're going to become a newer version of yourself. And the person that you're in a relationship with may not be introduced to that person. They may not know who that person is right away. You've got to let them know. And it's better to let them know as you're doing it instead of just expecting them to like meet this new person and be like, okay, cool. I like this new you. Let them know what you're doing. Bring them along on a ride. Let them get to know the new you as you do it. This way, you're not foreign, you're familiar. And they love it because they're seeing the growth, the blossoming of you. So, those are things that I wanted to share before we get into this about staying out of your own head and overthinking relationships and what ifs and stuff based on previous relationships, and how that can lead you to playing it safe and protecting yourself from hurt and harm. Let me move that out of the way for a second. People tend to overthink in general. And I think the more as a society we move to social media as being the main way that we communicate, whether that be communicate with other people or just communicate within ourselves. And by that I mean we use our platforms a lot to say things, and that's not vocalization. It's a head thing. Is what I'm thinking, and I'm just typing what I'm thinking. We spend more time inside of ourselves. And that can be positive because it gives you an opportunity to reflect on things. But it can also be detrimental in the sense that you don't have an outlet, like a healthy one. There are people that believe that, they're building more connection through social media and the ability to reach a lot of people. And I think that that is definitely a pro to having a platform that can reach other people that you don't know. But one of the major cons with that is that we're often sharing with people who are either like-minded or they're not. If you're like-minded, it doesn't matter whether what I'm saying is true or not, because you believe it because you're like-minded. So, I'm sharing the ideal, and you share that same idea and ideal. So now you think, or you will communicate that, oh, you're right. And I believe now that I'm right, that my thoughts are the proper thoughts because other people share in those thoughts and they're expressing them. Does not mean that I'm right or that I'm doing the right things. It just means that they agree. And because there's enough agreement, I feel positive about it. Okay. You use your mind about that, because we can all find someone to agree with us. We can always find a meme to share that says what we're thinking. It doesn't make the meme right. It just means that it's agreeing. And you find enough things and people to agree, you believe yourself. Now, I first episode I told you about confidence. But confidence has got to be rooted in something, hmm, in a truth. And there are truths in this world. You just got to dig deep for them because there's a lot of convoluted things too. The mind can be infiltrated with a lot of self doubt and a lot of other things so that what comes out of it is convoluted. You know, confidence can be distorted. It could be, um, let's just say, ego, negative ego qualities. Because ego, in and of itself, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's sometimes how we use our ego. But sometimes we're just so into ourselves that that can be misconstrued as like confidence if we make it seem a certain way. Being into myself and, you know, I know what I want and I know who I am and blah, blah, blah. And how we approach people as if they don't matter because we matter so much. Is that confidence? Does confidence wave itself around? Does it grandstand and stuff? I don't agree with that. I don't think so. Because who I am and who I'm being shouldn't really be about anybody else at all. But a lot of people will make their confidence about how other people view them and how other people should be accepting of them. And that's not confidence to me. It's a self thing. Confidence is a self thing. It's just about you. That's it. And it helps you impact it, like it impacts how you go out into the world because of how strong you feel about yourself. But that doesn't have to do with other people. Okay. But spending all this time within ourselves, having all these thoughts, and like I said, with social media, I use social media because it is the thing. We can avoid it all we want, but it's like such a major way in which we talk to people. People even use it to meet people, like relationships. And because of this, we're all in our heads and we're not doing things. We're not actually having real conversations with human beings face to face or on the phone. We're just spouting thoughts and then they respond. So you don't get to see how someone is really moving. You don't get to see how you feel around them. It's all head, all head. Because of that, I believe that we are spending more time in our heads and less time in ourselves. We aren't just our brains. We are made up of a lot of different things, and our emotions are a big part of it. And so is our intuition. The intuition is the thing that helps you decide whether or not you're really feeling this person, whether this is somebody you can feel safe around. But it's hard to know that when you're trapped in your head because you're using your head to tell you whether you can trust them and not that thing, that gut feeling that you were always taught long ago by your mother, your grandmother to listen to your gut. We stopped doing that because we got trapped in our heads. So now we're trying to think about whether or not they're good people. We're trying to think about whether we should give them a chance rather than feeling, discerning. Do I feel safe in this person? Do I feel safe around this person? How do I feel around this person? How does this person make me feel? How do I make this person feel? How are they expressing that to me? Is this working? How's it feel? We get trapped in the thoughts, and thoughts can be corrupted. What's the first thing that anybody ever attacks in movies or whatever? It's always your brain. It's always your brain where the thoughts are like stored. You mess with the mind, you mess with anything. Because most people use their mind to make their decisions about everything. And I'm not an anti mind, I love intellect, but it's not everything. There are other ways to intuit what's happening in your environment. You got to be able to feel. Somewhere we were told and convinced of that the physical aspects of us aren't as important as our brain power. And I believe that goes back to school, excelling in school. They focus so much on your ability to think and how you use your brain. And then they push all the physical aspects of us aside. So we don't trust anything from the physical space. But like, we're not just brains moving around in the atmosphere, we have bodies. They're here for a reason. We have other senses to use to help us decide whether people are people we should be around. Did we consider that we didn't use those things when the relationship went bad the first time with the first set of persons? Did we consider that we didn't really use all of our senses, that we only used our mind, or we only used our vaginas or penises to decide to get into things with this person? And maybe if we tried it differently, things would be different. Maybe if we got out of our heads, moved out of that space of thinking, constantly thinking, processing. How did it make you feel? You know, simple as that. How did it make you feel? And if someone is consistently making you feel uneasy, or at least one time making you feel extremely uneasy, then stop talking to them. Stop being around them. Trust yourself. Remember, first episode, we talked about knowing who you are. Because if it's you, accept you. Well, now that you know who is you, you know what's not working for you. You know what is not making you feel good because you know what you is. What does that mean when you say, I am me? What is you? Then you can discern what doesn't go with you and what's not just like your thoughts corrupting you. Because you feel it in your gut. What's true, what's right. That this man or this woman is speaking truth into you. That they value you. You feel it. Love, they say, isn't a feeling. But it is too. You can feel love. All kinds of love. You feel it. It's not just their actions. Their actions help produce the feeling. But there is a feeling that you have when someone loves you. It may not feel lovey-dovey all the time, but you know they have your best interest at heart. You feel it. You feel it. So what happens when you don't feel it? When you don't feel it, you be done. You take some of them lessons that I was sharing with you in episode 1 about being willing to let go and move on. Sometimes people are just not for us, no matter how much we want them to be. Sometimes they're just not. Sometimes they are repeating patterns that you saw in the first relationship that you were concerned about. Sometimes they are. Because of that first relationship, you're able to see it. So now you know, and you can move forward faster. That's why this is my response to that whole, what about overthinking? You don't have to overthink because you've already experienced it. You've already had it happen. You don't got to overthink it. You don't got to keep thinking about it. Why? It's happened and it's done. It's a lesson. When you receive lessons, you don't keep thinking of the lesson. You just have it. You collect it. It's part of you. It's now a part of your intuition, part of that gut. This is why you can then go into new experiences open hearted, free. Because the moment that you, since you know who you are, who you is, as I said, you can then feel when it's not right because you've collected the lesson. And now that lesson is telling you danger, danger, leave. Not this down in here. How you feel, the gut is telling you danger, go, leave. And there are different levels of danger. There's danger immediately, run, maybe like literally run, okay? Or let this be the last conversation or interaction. And then there's others where you're like, this seems oddly familiar. But you have to remember, are you communicating? Are they communicating? Are you really dealing with each other? Because you aren't the only person that's been hurt. That's why I said some of us, listen, some slash a lot, are all into ourselves. We are so trapped in ourselves and our experience. Somebody has convinced you that it's all about you. Put yourself first. Put yourself first in your life. But in your relationships, it's not just you. Friendships, it's not just you. They got their own shit. So, yes, in your own life, you can put yourself first, but you consider other people. You should be considering this other person has damage too. They have lessons too. And we may be, kind of doing some of the shit that could be troublesome to them. We're not perfect. Just because you're a beautiful person with a big heart and you give and you love and you want to cook for him and you want to take care of him doesn't mean that that's what he wants right now. Those may be alarm bells for him. He may have had someone who was all into that and moved so fast, they were psychotic. You see what I'm saying? That may be an alarm bell. That may be putting off his gut. Uh-oh. Last time you was with somebody that was all into doing everything and being all of this, they took it too far. So here you are, you thinking you being everything. And you being too much. Now, does that mean that you change who you are? No. It means communicate. You get to know people. Stop rushing getting to know them. Just get to know them. Take your time. Talk. Go someplace. Pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to what they're doing. Keep learning before you jump into serious commitments. Again, this keeps you from overthinking because all you're doing is learning this person. You don't have to overthink. They're telling you who they are through their interactions with you. What do you need to overthink about? See? What's there to overthink about? The overthinking comes from you deciding early on that this is what you want. And then now you talk yourself out of it. Yeah, this is what I want. But last time I wanted this, blah, 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 blah. You're not even giving the person a chance to just be them. You don't even know if you like them, to be honest. You just like some things you see. You haven't even learned them yet. That's why you're overthinking. Because when you learn someone, what is there to overthink about? I don't overthink about my man. What is there to overthink about? I don't think nothing. I trust what he tells me. I believe what he shows me. I know how I feel. Nothing to think about. We may think through certain situations together, but I don't be overthinking about him because I got to know him. And that's more important than a lot of this stuff. So this is becoming a longer session. And I think that's because I've observed, I'm saying I think, but I've observed this a lot on social media, especially. We be in relationships before we have even learned to relate. Let me say that again. We be in relationships before we've even learned to relate. You got to relate to somebody before you be in a relationship. Before that, you get to know them so you can relate. And if you cannot relate and you like the getting to know is a failure, it's a bust, okay, that's fine. You don't have to like get online and discuss how it didn't work when you were trying to get to know someone because it's not their fault. Sometimes they just not your people. You're not supposed to relate because they're not for you to relate to. That's why you were trying. You see what I mean? You met the person, you saw something, you said, okay, let me get to know him. But you got to know him, you didn't like him. Okay, you gonna like everybody? Didn't your mama tell you not everybody gonna like you? I know she did. Somebody in your life did if it wasn't your mama. For whatever reasons you didn't have a mother to tell you that. Maybe it was your father. Maybe it was a cousin, an auntie. Maybe it was just a friend. Somebody done told you not everybody's gonna like you. You're not gonna like everybody either. You won't relate to everybody. They won't be your people. They will not be your tribe. It's not their fault. Stop bashing people for being who they are. When you are who you are and somebody don't like you. You see what I mean? Like you are not everything to other people. You're supposed to be everything to you. We all supposed to love us. That doesn't mean everybody's supposed to love us. Yes, you are beautiful, but that doesn't mean everybody sees it. And that's okay. We're not here to be everything to everybody. The harmonizing comes from us being ourselves and us harmonizing with those that are surrounding us. If you're not in conflict, you're adding. But it's the fact that we get on our platforms and we bash people for their differences, even as flawed and sometimes as fucked up as they are. The thing is, we can all look at ourselves and see things that are wrong with us. And if we can't, trust me, there's someone that can see it and they'll help you to find it. Nobody's perfect. And everybody does something that is aggravating, irritating, that other people will look at and say, this is a messed up individual. Everybody, I guarantee you. It doesn't mean that you are, doesn't mean you have to believe them, but this is what they perceive about you. Everybody. And it's that self entitlement that so many of us have that we believe that we're so good and so beautiful that no one should have a problem with us, that everybody would love us, that there's a problem. No, honey, no, 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 no. The confidence I was trying to tell you about, it helps you to be who you are, but it doesn't take away from that we need work, that we need to be more kind and considerate of other people and their differences. that when things aren't working, that we need to be willing to like wrap it up, cut it off, and be done, rather than, overthinking, irritating the hell out of somebody because they're exhibiting signs and symptoms of something that you done saw on a program or read in a book or saw on memes, and now you're trying to analyze them. No, you don't like them. You don't like what they're doing. Leave. You are not a tree. You can move. Stop building up fantasies about people. Let them be them. Let them show you who they are. And here's the thing, this other thing is very important. When you've met that person and they like mostly got what you want, you love and everything, but then they got something else about them. Don't try to change them. Don't try to get rid of that thing. That's them. Now you've got to decide whether that thing is something that is enough to end it, rather than let's change this one little thing because everything else is perfect by them. You've got to decide whether it's the type of thing you can live with, because you have to let them be them. Because there's something about you that they're thinking, can I deal with this one thing? And a lot of people don't want to ever compromise. This is why they are often alone. Some of y'all want to be. That's fine. But those of you who don't want to be, and you're wondering why you're always alone, it's often you don't want to compromise. But I mean, like, should you be compromising your values? No, never, 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 never. But can you compromise how often you watch a television program? Can you compromise where you spend some of your Saturdays? I'm not answering. That's for you to answer. I'm just saying that oftentimes the reason why things don't work is because we believe we're right and we're perfect and our way is the best way, and this other person is going to require too much change and compromise, and that's not what you're willing to do because you don't want to settle. You done heard it too many times on social media about settling, and so now you're concerned about settling. You're overthinking about settling. Baby girl, relationships help you grow. That's where compromise is actually to your benefit. When you start exploring things that you didn't explore before, physically, sexually, mentally, all that, you grow. You add to yourself through this other person. Having someone else in your life is of benefit to you when they're the right person. And no, it's not for you to overthink about whether they're the right person. You feel whether they're the right person for you. And then you just learn more about them. You keep learning and growing, and you build upon that. You don't make them into who you want them to be. You accept them as they are, just the way you want to be accepted as you are. You have to accept them as they are. And finally, if they end up not being what you need, if you're consistently unable to relate, even after having related before, if things have changed so much for either one of you or for both, then what did I teach you first episode? Let go. Not everything lasts. Nothing actually lasts forever. Even in a beautiful marriage, somebody dies. I know that's sad, but like somebody eventually goes because nothing does last forever. We don't last forever in this form. So everything will change. Everything will evolve into something else. So even if you love this person and you like this person and you've related to this person, but you're no longer relating, let go. And whatever that looks like, I can't tell you. I'm not telling nobody divorce, and that's not my business, you know? But my business is to say to you that we've got to be willing to let go of things that are harming us. And that doesn't mean all relationships that have gone stale are harming us. So that's also for you to discern. Sometimes things will be stagnant for a while. And even in great relationships, you just reach an impasse because you're both individuals. So it's not always going to be like, ooh, there are going to be times when it's tough and hard. Did you make a decision to commit through those times? Because if you did, then just keep communicating. You will likely find your way. Sometimes finding your way just ain't going to happen. And in those instances, maybe it's time for y'all to discuss together how to let go and move on and do something different and not overthink it. Feel, talk, learn, touch, cook, all those things. Sing together, dance together, feel together. Just be together. And if you can't do that anymore, then let go. Don't overthink. Don't spend time trapped up in here because it doesn't go anywhere. Social media has trained you, us, to spend time in our heads, telling ourselves what we want to hear, finding people that believe the things we think, that we think everything we think is right. And we're not going out there living, learning, loving. So we don't grow and we don't move forward with people that could be good for us because we're constantly afraid and believing our own hype. So what was asked, I believe I've answered. Staying out of your head is then being present in yourself, knowing who you are and feeling what's right for you, and not worrying about the past because the past is a part of you now. So you don't have to overthink it. It's part of you. And allow that part of you to help you feel when something is not for you, so that that is your protection. That is how you stay safe in situations. You accept the lesson and you move forward. Hopefully that helped you. And if it didn't, I apologize. You can always leave a comment in the comment section below. Reach out to me in any platform. We're connected. But I hope that I have helped you by discussing with you my thoughts on this overthinking that we do. And it's not just in relationships, it's in everything. We've got to get out of the head part. The head part will keep us trapped in ourselves. We have to learn how to be able to move and think outside of ourselves. We need to be able to feel what's happening and learn from those things that we're feeling. Learn from the people that we're around. Live. I just want us to live. I want us to live more fully and completely. We can't do that in our heads. We can't. So, I hope that first episode was helpful to you and it's giving you something to think about. And now I hope the second one does the same. Any questions, comments, any topics you want me to cover, reach out to me. Leave something in the comment section below. And in the meantime, I want you to, as I said, be love, feel love, and give love.